There are moments in life when everything inside us screams for answers, when pain, confusion, and uncertainty make us want to demand explanations from the heavens. But in those moments, a quiet voice speaks deep within our souls: trust me and stay silent. It is not a suggestion, it is not an option, it is a command. A divine call to surrender, to believe even when nothing makes sense. We live in a world that tells us to speak up, to fight for control, to demand justice on our own terms. But God's way is different. He tells us to be still, to trust without seeing, to believe without evidence, to stay silent when our hearts are restless. Think about this. When a seed is planted in the ground, it doesn't make a sound as it grows. Yet beneath the surface, roots are forming, foundations are being laid, and transformation is happening. The silence does not mean inactivity, it means preparation. And so it is with God. He is working in your life even when you can't hear Him, even when you can't see Him, even when everything seems like it's falling apart. So when life presses in, when trials surround you, when you don't have the answers, trust Him. Stay silent. Let God be God, because the one who made the heavens and the earth doesn't need your noise. He needs your faith. And if you can trust Him in the silence, you will one day hear the sound of His victory. Trust Him, stay silent, watch what He will do. Faith is one of the most profound aspects of human existence, requiring a deep trust in something beyond our understanding. It is easy to have faith when life is predictable, when things are going according to plan, and when we feel like we are in control. But true faith is tested in moments of uncertainty, in times when we don't have answers, and in situations where we feel helpless. In these moments, faith demands something challenging from us: silence. It calls us to trust without questioning, to believe without visible proof, and to remain still even when everything inside us wants to speak, act, or demand answers. Silence is not merely the absence of speech. It is an intentional surrender. When faced with adversity, the natural response is to seek explanations, to find someone or something to blame, or to question why things are happening the way they are. This desire for answers is rooted in our need for control. However, faith does not operate within the boundaries of human understanding. It requires us to step beyond logic and trust in a plan that we may not fully see or comprehend. Silence in this context becomes an act of obedience, a sign that we recognize our limitations and acknowledge that there is a higher power at work. When we read stories of great faith, whether in religious texts or in the lives of individuals who have faced tremendous challenges, we often see a common thread. They trusted even when they didn't understand. They did not always have immediate answers. They did not always hear the voice of God speaking directly to them. Yet they moved forward with a quiet confidence that God was working behind the scene. This silence was not weakness, it was strength. It was a declaration that they believed in God's plan more than they believed in their own fears. One of the greatest examples of faith requiring silence is seen in moments of waiting. Waiting is difficult because it demands patience, and patience requires trust. When we are waiting for healing, for a breakthrough, or for a sign that things will get better, the silence can feel unbearable. We want to hear God's voice. We want confirmation that we are on the right path. But often God's most powerful work happens in the quiet, in the stillness, where we are forced to rely not on what we see, but on what we believe. Faith requires us to trust that even in the silence, He is moving. This silence is also necessary when facing opposition or criticism. There will be times when we are misunderstood, when people doubt us, or when we feel the urge to defend ourselves. However, faith teaches us that not every battle requires our words. Sometimes remaining silent is the greatest display of trust in God's justice. When we resist the temptation to fight every battle with our own strength, we allow God to intervene on our behalf. Silence in these cases is not cowardice, it is wisdom. It shows that we believe God will handle situations better than we ever could. Faith also requires silence in moments of suffering. When pain enters our lives, we often want to cry out, to express our frustration, to demand an explanation. While expressing emotions is natural, there comes a point where faith calls us to be still, to not let our emotions dictate our belief, to not let our circumstances shake our confidence in God's goodness. Silence in suffering is not suppression, it is trust. It is a deep, unshakable belief that God's plan is unfolding, even when we don't understand it. There is a beauty in silence that faith understands. The most profound moments in life are often not filled with noise, but with stillness. A sunrise does not announce itself with thunder, it simply rises. A tree does not make a sound as it grows, it simply stands firm. Faith operates in the same way. It does not need constant reassurance. It does not require endless explanations. It simply believes, remains still, and trusts. Faith requiring silence is one of the hardest lessons to learn, yet one of the most powerful. It teaches us to let go of our need for control, to resist the urge to demand immediate answers, and to trust in something greater than ourselves. It is in this silence that our faith grows, where we move beyond mere belief into complete surrender. When we embrace this kind of trust, we experience the peace that comes from knowing that even in the silence, God is working. Silence is often misunderstood. In a world that values loud voices, strong opinions, and constant expression, silence can seem like a sign of weakness, passivity, or even ignorance. But in reality, silence is one of the greatest strengths a person can possess. It is not the absence of power, rather it is the highest form of control. To remain silent when provoked, to hold back when tempted to respond, and to trust in something greater than immediate reactions requires more strength than shouting, arguing, or forcing one's way forward. True strength is not measured by how loud one can be, but by how much one can endure without losing inner peace. In difficult situations, the first instinct is often to speak, defend, or retaliate. When faced with criticism, accusations, or injustice, the natural response is to argue back, to explain, or to prove a point. However, silence in these moments is a mark of wisdom. It shows an understanding that not every battle is worth fighting with words, that sometimes the best response is no response at all. Those who can hold their silence in the face of provocation demonstrate a rare kind of strength, the ability to rise above the noise and maintain their dignity. Speaking in anger or frustration often leads to regret, but silence allows time for thought, patience, and clarity. Silence is also a form of discipline. It requires self-control to remain quiet when emotions are high, when there is a strong desire to react, or when it feels necessary to justify oneself. This restraint is not weakness, but power. The strongest people are those who do not let their emotions dictate their actions, who do not feel the need to prove themselves with words, but instead let their character, actions, and faith speak for them. A person who can stay silent when others are speaking against them shows a confidence that does not rely on external validation. There is also great strength in silence when facing uncertainty or hardship. When life presents challenges, struggles, or pain, there is often an urge to complain, to question, or to seek immediate answers. However, silence in these moments is a sign of trust. It shows the ability to endure without losing faith, to stand firm without needing constant reassurance, and to wait patiently without giving in to doubt. Strength is not always about action. Sometimes it is about stillness. Those who can remain silent in their trials exhibit a strength that is deeper than physical endurance. It is spiritual, emotional, and mental fortitude. Silence is also a form of wisdom. Not everything requires a response. Not every opinion needs to be shared. Not every situation calls for immediate words. Those who understand the power of silence know that words once spoken cannot be taken back, and that sometimes saying nothing at all is the most powerful statement one can make. Silence allows space for reflection, for understanding, and for the right words to come at the right time. It prevents unnecessary conflicts, misunderstandings, and regrets. In relationships, silence can be an act of love. It is easy to react, to argue, or to insist on being right. But silence in moments of disagreement shows strength in choosing peace over pride. It takes strength to listen instead of speaking, to allow emotions to settle before responding, and to choose understanding over winning an argument. Silence can build bridges, heal wounds, and restore relationships when used with wisdom. There is an undeniable power in silence that few people recognize. It is the strength of self-control, the wisdom of patience, and the confidence of faith. Those who embrace silence are not weak but incredibly strong. They do not waste energy on unnecessary words or reactions. They do not let their emotions control them. They do not need to prove themselves through speech. Instead, they stand firm, knowing that silence is not an absence of response, but a deliberate, powerful choice. It is in silence that true strength is revealed.